ANC top officials have denied these rumours that the ruling party is thinking of calling elections before the end of Parliament's five-year term, which is in May next year. The DA says it has on good authority that early elections will be called. Well, the SABC cannot confirm the rumours, but we thought we'd look at the implications of an early election and the viability. And this certainly is an option if the ANC wants to capitalise on some of the goodwill around the political changes since December, dubbed Ramaphoria. To discuss, we're joined by political analyst Dirk Kotze from Pretoria. Thank you for being with us, Prof. What do you make of the rumours?
Well, this is something that was discussed at the March NEC meeting of the ANC also, and it was quite thoroughly discussed. In the end, they decided not to have early elections, but they decided to start early with their nomination process, and the committee was established, chaired by the Secretary General, that aims to have the process done around about September, October. I think one of the possibilities why there's now discussion about it is the fact that it can circumvent a lot of internal politicking within the ANC about the nomination process specifically. The nomination process in the past, for example, in the 2011 election, in the 2014 election, was highly disruptive within the ANC. It led to small breakaways, like, for example, the African Independent Congress, but it also led to even the political killings in KwaZulu-Natal. So that might be one of the possible strategic considerations. But on the other hand, for the ANC, they have serious problems in provinces like the Northwest, obviously, KwaZulu-Natal also, the Free State, where they don't have provincial executive committees at this stage. And they need to have a proper organizational foundation before they can really campaign within for such an election. The main advantage for them at the moment is the president, Cyril Ramaphosa, is creating a lot of goodwill for the ANC, except for what we've seen now with respect to specifically the service delivery demonstrations that we are seeing lately.
If it is factionalism that may lead to this, just speculation, then there are two schools of thought. One that Jacob Zuma's camp in the party wants a comeback of sorts. The other that if there's a good showing at the polls, President Cyril Ramaphosa's leadership will be strengthened, so much so that he can pick his cabinet unhampered. Which way are you leaning if the ANC and other parties were to go to the polls tomorrow?
Well, I think the main consideration will be how will it affect President Ramaphosa. He absolutely needs to have a good election. He needs to survive the next election, and preferably with an increased majority, not with just above 50%. If he can do that, he can consolidate his position within the ANC. He can also present himself as a winning leader. While under President Zuma, the ANC was always in decline since 2009. So from his point of view, it is absolutely critically important that he will have a successful election. I'm not sure whether President Zuma really can have any advantage in either an election at the normal time in May, for example, next year, or an early election. At this stage, the Zuma camp, I would say, is still too much in disarray in order to have really been consolidated, given all the initiatives from the Ramaphosa side with respect to the anti-corruption campaign, with the changes in the cabinet and several other aspects.
So it could strengthen Ramaphosa's hand, but will he take the risk, given that, like you mentioned, there are still problems in the provinces and a lot of protests across this country?
I personally expect that he will wait until next year. I don't think the ANC is ready in the organizational sense in order to go into an election at this point in time. First of all, the provincial leaderships are not in place. Even with respect to the Western Cape, they have now made an ad hoc arrangement with Ibrahim Rasool as their election campaigner there, the main leader for the election. So therefore, I don't think it actually will be to their advantage. The longer the ANC postpones the election, the less they will also be associated with the negative side of President Zuma. And I think for the opposition parties, that is still one of their main campaigning focus points, is the legacy of President Zuma within the ANC, and what he left behind in terms of the corruption, in terms of the lack of service delivery, of quality government, of ethical leadership. And I think the longer the period is since the resignation of President Zuma, the less that will have an impact on the election campaign. At the same time, President Ramaphosa will then have still time in order to consolidate his leadership within the ANC and also to produce results. And I think what he wants to see is a change, especially in the economy. He focuses a lot on the economy since his election, and he wants to see it results in respect of that. The moment he can do that, I think he will be able to take it to the electorate and say, well, there's good reason to support us.
And if you were the DA, how would you feel about the possibility then, only the possibility of early elections, given where it is, and the EFF as well?
Well, I think for both of them, the longer it is going to take, the more it will be to their disadvantage. They have also used the Zuma presence really to their advantage. Soon after, or with the demise of President Zuma and his resignation, they immediately switched over to the idea of an early election, because I think they calculated at that point, and that is middle of February, that they would still have an advantage in the sense that the ANC will still suffer from the legacy of President Zuma, and that will give them then a step ahead. But now the DA has its own problems in the form of Patricia de Lille, for example. I think the Western Cape is becoming, irrespective of Patricia de Lille, more of an headache for the ANC because they have to determine also who's they're going to be their new leader in the Western Cape in the form of the successor of Helen Zille as Premier. And that is certainly not clear at this point in time. The EFF has a lot of work still to do. They don't have national support. They have support very much in Gauteng. About 40% of all their votes come from Gauteng, then the Northwest and Limpopo, but for example, not in the coastal provinces. KwaZulu-Natal, Western Cape, Eastern Cape, Northern Cape, they have very little support. And for any of these parties really to make a success and is to become a national party, to have a national footprint. And the EFF at this stage does not have that. So they have also still a lot of organizational work to do before they will really be ready for an election.
All right, so it sounds like all the parties could do with a bit more time to get better, basically. Prof, final question, because we're running out of time. Coming back to the ANC, we know the top six is meeting about the Northwest Premier, Supra Mahumapelo. What do they need to do with regards to him to ensure the best electoral support?
Well, I think there is serious complaints about him in the Northwest Province now. I think it is a fallout of the December conference where the Northwest really failed in their conquest for or quest for in order to have a good presence in the ANC. They have almost no presence in the ANC at the moment at national level. I think there's a feeling that he made the wrong choice to back as the national leader. At the same time, we have the poor governance in the province. So I think that it's set for him to be removed by the ANC, and for them then to decide on a new successor, on a new way actually to position the Northwest, because as I've mentioned earlier, that is one of the strongholds of the EFF also.
All right, thank you so much for your analysis. As always, political analyst Professor Dirk Kotze from Pretoria. We'll take a short break. Bongani and I will be back with more.